Here are the items that we're going to need for prepping potatoes. First, I'm going to show you guys how to set up our power soak. Now that we've set up our power soak, we're going to lubricate our potato cutter with peanut oil. For safety reasons, never get the oil from the fryer. The reason we lubricate our potato cutter is to make the cutting process a lot smoother. Please note that you do not need gloves for potato prep. First thing we're going to do, we're going to dump our potatoes into our second prep sink. Now we're going to rinse off our potatoes. After that, we're going to plug our sink and start running cold water. Now we're going to start cutting our potatoes. It's important that we always put our potato in the cutter sideways. When you're cutting potatoes, you're always going to want to reach for your other potato while you're using your body weight to cut the current potato. It should take 5 minutes or less to cut a bag of potatoes. Some people have done it in less than a minute. We're going to continue this process until we've cut all the potatoes needed for the day. Now that we've cut our bag of potatoes, we're going to go ahead and even out the potatoes so we have about 50% on either side of our divider. You want to make sure your water level is high enough to where it's about 3 to 4 inches from the top of the sink or up to the mark on the side of the sink. Now we're going to turn on our power soak for 3 to 5 minutes. During this time, make sure you're helping out around the store with other prep. If you do get busy on something, make sure these potatoes do not run for any more than 10 minutes. The white bubbles accumulating at the top of the water is the starch getting extracted from the potatoes. After we've let our potatoes run for 3 to 5 minutes, we're going to use our potato cauldron to scoop up our potatoes. Next, rinse off any excess starch from our potatoes. After that, we're going to dump our potatoes into our fourth prep sink. We're going to continue this process until we've moved over all of the potatoes. We're going to perform the stir test to make sure that we've gotten all of the starch out of the potatoes. You might need to drain your water a few times and fill it up in order to get the rest of the starch out. Now that we've removed all the starch from our potatoes, we're going to soak our potatoes in cold, clear water for at least 15 minutes before we use them. Be sure to leave 1 inch of water above your potatoes and a 1-inch gap from the water to the top of the sink. After we've cut all the potatoes needed for the day, or after every 5th bag, we're going to take all the pieces out of our power soak and we're going to go through the cleaning cycle. Now I'm going to demonstrate how we cut potatoes without the power soak. Notice how the cutting process is the same as the power soak. Once your potatoes start to overflow, you can go ahead and push them into your second sink. At this point, I'm putting my whole potatoes into my third sink. And we're going to go ahead and continue cutting until we're all done. After we've cut all of our potatoes, we're going to go ahead and do the stir test a few more times than normal. It's very important that we get all the starch out of the potatoes. Once we get all the starch out, we're going to let them sit in the cold, clear water for at least 15 minutes. If you have any potatoes left over at the end of the night, place them into a white bucket and fill it up with cold water to the point where you have at least 1 inch of water above the top of the potatoes. Place the lid on the bucket and put it in the proper place in the walk-in. After we're done cutting potatoes, it's important that we immediately wash, rinse, and sanitize all parts of our potato cutter. When working with cut potatoes, it's important to watch for the 3 effects that can affect our product: the acid effect, the black potatoes, and the pink potatoes. The acid effect occurs when cut potatoes have been soaking in water for too long. This normally occurs after about 20 hours. A few characteristics of potatoes with the acid effect is a slight smell, the potatoes will start to look slimy, and they also look eaten away. When potatoes have been affected by the acid effect, you want to throw away the whole entire bucket. Black potatoes will occur when potatoes have been sitting out of water for too long. When this happens, you want to dispose of any of the fries that have turned black. When potatoes turn pink, that means they have not been soaking in water for long enough. When this happens, we want to get those potatoes back under water as quickly as possible. We'll need to let those soak for at least 15 minutes in cold, clear water.